is the number of new beginnings and also denotes a new order or creation. We are truly living in a new world order, a new normal as a result of a global reset that has ushered in a new normal and a new beginning due to COVID-19 and the coronavirus pandemic. Our theme this year is Access for Extraordinary Impact, which the team came up with last year in 2019 without knowing how accurate and timely it would be for this season. It takes a whole year to plan the Unstuck annual conference. Access is defined as the method or possibility of getting near to a place or a person. It is the permission, the liberty, or ability to enter, approach, or to pass. Access is given for a reason. There is purpose for our access, and we believe that we have accessed a season that paves way into and for extraordinary impact. Every one of our panelists today and next Saturday on the 8th of August have used their access for impact and for others. I am always amazed at the length to which God will go for those who think, see, and act for others beyond themselves. We find ourselves in a time when the question is always, what's in it for me? How do I gain from what I give my time and my energy to? But the leaders we have gathered to speak to us have a different worldview. Kennedy Odede Oshofko could have waltzed out of Kibera without looking back and forget that part of his life. But he walked out carrying Kibra and 9 other informal settlements with him. He has given hope and opportunity to many. He has given them access to healthcare with dignity, water, wealth creation models, avenues and abilities, and education amongst others. Joram Winamo of Sandbox has provided a comprehensive, sustainable platform for entrepreneurs where startups and SMEs can connect with experts and scale their business, helping others to achieve their business goals and dreams and taking his eyes off himself so that many more can succeed. Rosemary Momani Opio, in her current role at Google, is assisting SMEs recover and restart post-COVID-19 by growing their online presence and finding new customers. One of my favorite statements is Google is your friend. And she, I decided she's a she, truly is, because Google has given us access to the world and information. As I reflected on the access conversation, I thought of resilience because of the unique times that we find ourselves in. Sheryl Sandberg and Adam Grant, in their book Option B, which I love the title, Option B, not A, Option B, have a unique definition of resilience, which I would like to quote. Resilience is the strength and speed of our response to adversity. I'm going to repeat that. Resilience is the strength and speed of our response to adversity, and we can build on it. It's not about having a backbone. It's about strengthening the muscles around our backbone. The backbone gives structure and support to the body. Structures and systems have been built around it, and it provides a framework. All the enterprises involved in this year's Unstuck conference have provided structure and support for others. Access for impact requires a solid structure and systems that we can build around. We need to build resilience, a strengthening of the muscles around the backbone, the structure, the systems, and the framework. In this season of a global pandemic, we must be resilient. We must be able to bounce back, use our strength to develop others, and develop new strengths. This is not the season to stay down or give up. This is the season for access for extraordinary impact. This is the season where you need to change your mind about yourself. You need to change your mind about what's possible. You need to change your thinking, your thoughts, and your focus. You need to identify supporting structures. You need to ask yourself the question, how do I strengthen the muscles surrounding my backbone So you decide, this is my backbone, but how do I strengthen these muscles in a time when resilience is required like no other time? What strategies do you need to employ? And they are different for everyone. What is right about this season? What is right about the time that we are in? What and where do you need to access to transition into your next? Many are loving working from home. Others are making use of their time to envision and plan through and think through new opportunities. People are learning new things. There is so much information and e-learning opportunities available. Some are even awakening dormant gifts. To gain access for your next, you need to reinvent, you need to dare, you need to step out boldly, you need to envision, and you need to act. Every ending launches us and gives us the opportunity to start a new beginning. I was reflecting on the word cycles. Cycles start and end, and a new cycle starts. And when I looked up that word, they said every cycle needs to be the same. Or that's the definition. But I think cycles change. Cycles change because of things that have taken place. As we brainstormed last year, or the team brainstormed on Access, we looked at how generations have evolved. From our grandparents, to our parents, to us, and to our children, and now grandchildren. And this was spurred by a conversation that we had with SK Blue of Gold Avenue Africa on generations. One generation, that was for me, my grandparents, fought for the land. Another bought and owned the land. That was my father's generation. They bought and owned the land and property. They wanted ownership. But the Access generation are not interested in ownership, just access. I recently lost my dad. He passed away, and it is so hard. But I kept thinking and reflecting that that is a cycle that has ended. And this is an opportunity now for a new cycle to begin. But it will be a different cycle because he laid a foundation on which we now as a new generation can build on. His life gave us a level of access for impact. It's now our turn. And if you don't do it for anyone else, I'm always pleading with people, do it for the next generation. Give them a leg up, so to speak. I wanted to reflect on a question. What has ended for you, and how can you start a new cycle? It could be that you've lost your job in this pandemic. It could be that you don't have as much income as you had. Something has ended. But remember I said every cycle ends and it gives way and allows for the birthing of a new cycle. So you need to think, what has ended for you and how can you start a new cycle? Because it's time to access our next. Isaiah 43:18-19 says that the old has gone and the new has come, but you must perceive the new. You must see it, envision it, write it down, create a vision board. This is the season and opportunity to create a new way, a new normal, a new order, and a new cycle. This is the season, an opportunity to create a new way, a new normal, a new order, and a new cycle. If you're afraid, this is okay. But don't stay afraid and don't get stuck, because this is the Unstuck Conference. Don't stay afraid and don't get stuck. I reflected on a few ways that we can move past fear. One, do it afraid. There are many things that I do, and I know people around me who do things even if they're afraid. Speak to a mentor. Engage a coach, because there's nothing as powerful as being coached even through your fears or through your thoughts. Ask for help. Ask for help. Draw, write, and envision your next and place it in front of you. Pray about it. Pray about this new next. Dare, be bold, set out and take actionable steps. Break it down into bite-sized pieces. And every time I say that, I think of if you want to have a meal, you have to break down the meal into bite-sized pieces and consume them. So do the same with your vision, you know. Start moving and explore possibilities and opportunities. We have a unique opportunity to access our next, but I kept sensing only if we jump into opportunities that don't look like what we had envisioned. I think sometimes it's our visioning. We envision something and want to stay there, but the world has gone through a reset. People are thriving in this reset. People are gaining access to new ways and new ideas, and we don't want you to be left behind. Access for extraordinary impact is processed through stages. I thought of the butterfly. It goes from the egg to the larva to the pupa to the butterfly. I used to work in the coffee industry, and it's amazing how the coffee cherry and what you receive in your cup, we used to call it from bean to cup, is very different. Diamonds, I've been looking at how diamonds come into being. They're taken out of ore, out of the ground, and then they become this beautiful gem. No stage or part of this process looks like the last one. And that's something we have to think about as we listen to the conversations that we're going to listen today. The egg doesn't look like the larva, the pupa, the butterfly. Everything looks different. You can't even imagine that this is where the butterfly came from. You can't imagine this is where the diamond came from. You can't imagine where the drink in my cup in terms of lattes and mochas and espressos came from the cherry. So I think I wanted to say that because I wanted us to find yourself. Where are you in this stage and this process? So there are no similarities. And wherever you are in this stage, make a move to the next and refrain from looking for the familiar, because the old has gone and the new has come in the global reset. Access for extraordinary impact means continuous change, transition, and movement. We have to keep it moving. We have to keep it flowing. And I wanted to sing, I kept hearing this lyrics of a song that I sing, make that move right now, because it's time. It's time to make a move. You can't get stuck. You can't stay down. It's about resilience. It's about bouncing back. It's about strengthening your backbone so that you can do more. Renew your culture. Renew your thoughts. Die to self, as you'll see all our panelists have, and bless others. Africa requires new leaders who think and act differently. Leaders who think access for impact of others and not themselves. Leaders who take their eyes off themselves and place them on the plight of others and create opportunities, hope, and remove every hindrance so that we can all succeed. I have my own access story for impact. In 2007, I left the norm and started on a journey that led to the formation of the Purpose and Leadership Forum, birthed from my great desire to share what I was learning about God's culture and his ways on leadership. I have run, by God's grace, 30 cohorts for the last 10 years in Kenya, and cohorts in Uganda, 7 cohorts, and 13 in Tanzania. And I had the opportunity to do 3 cohorts in Switzerland and France. In 2019, I felt that we should stop running the cohorts as was and record the program popularly known as PLF for online consumption that would allow access to even more people and give the flexibility for an on-demand, self-paced experience. PLF is a journey of self-discovery. Not knowing that it would be the shift that was needed for our next. So today, on the 1st of August, 2020, I would like to launch the PLF online. Please watch the video, after which we will proceed to join the panel for an unstacking conversation on access for extraordinary impact. God bless you, and don't forget to log in next Saturday for another panel, Unstack Day 2. After the video, let's join the conversation. Let's get us unstuck for access for extraordinary impact. God bless you. Hi, everyone. My name is Angie Morenga. By God's grace, the founder and CEO and lead trainer of Kingdom Business Solutions, which hosts the Purpose and Leadership Forum. So PLF is, as we popularly call it, is now going online. So yay! We're getting with the times and getting with the program. And it's really great for access. This word access has really featured in this year. And when we think of access, we think of things like Uber, things like Airbnb, where people have moved away from ownership, but they've moved into access, that you give people access to accommodation, access to the transport, that I don't need to own the car, I just need to get from point A to B. And so I really thank God that the PLF now is going online. It's the Purpose and Leadership Forum. We're going online after 30 seasons in Kenya, and a season lasts 3 months, and we had 3 seasons in a year. And then we're still continuing in terms of the classroom style in Uganda and Tanzania. But online is great. And I had looked into some online courses, and they're really short and sweet. But ours, one of the things that PLF does, it's long, it has a lot of content. We've tried to break down the videos so that you can consume them. But when I was looking at this, I was thinking the whole idea for me to do PLF was for diaspora as well. I think the first takers of it will be the African diaspora, because it's the way that Africa does things that are related to God, I think. PLF is faith-based. It's faith-based. It's 12 steps that explain who you are and your purpose and help you to locate that purpose. It's a journey of self-discovery. This is not where we are going to do the work for you. You have to do the work. So the first chapter really talks about the real you, just identifying the man as a spirit, who has a soul, who has a body, and that's what we want to get in touch with. The second one is about lifestyle. Every great person I've ever had say something or hold an interview is great because their lifestyle. There's something about their lifestyle that contributes to that greatness. So we want to discuss what is a kingdom lifestyle. Then we discuss purpose in the marketplace, because that's where, for me, PLF is a marketplace ministry, and I'm a great believer in that. Every day you're supposed to execute your purpose in your marketplace. Then we talk about vision, because you see, the Bible says without a vision, people perish, but also because whatever vision and whatever purpose you have is actually for other people. It's about others. And then we discuss leadership, but it's not leadership 101. It's about that leadership is a privilege. It's a position and it's a privilege. So what do I do with this privilege? What do I do with this position? The 6th chapter is about fatherhood, is that we really must learn to pass on the genes that God has given us, and we must always father people. So in the marketplace, who am I fathering? In the family and even around you, are there people who are not fathered? So it's not just your direct family that you're fathering, who's around. And then we do kingdom business. So what is a kingdom business? That is not a business that's owned by a Christian. That does not mean it's a kingdom business. I must see the principles of Christianity, the principles of the kingdom in the business. Then there's my favorite, I think, as I have evolved, is the 8th module, which is about models in the marketplace. And the models discuss issues around family, marriage, money, and community. Those are such extreme pillars as we pursue purpose. And then the 9th one is now where we go into the principles of the kingdom, because the kingdom of God is run by principles. Therefore, what are the principles? How do I apply the principles so that I live in a kingdom culture, in a kingdom way, and I express myself and everything in the ecosystem according to the kingdom? And then we have the 10th chapter, which is faith, calling, and purpose. You see, every decision that we make is entered into by faith. And then we talk about the Joseph generation, because I feel that I'm called to raise Josephs. And Joseph is a generational solution provider and a wealth creator. And then there's the final thing, is what our essence is about, is to engage marketplace leaders. They're changed by the Holy Spirit, by watching the videos and the lessons that they learn and what is communicated to them by the Holy Spirit, and then they're released to go and lead in their different market spaces. So that's what PLF is all about. I know that it's a process that has transformed many people to go and transform their world as well, to go and transform on behalf of Jesus Christ. It's a culture changing tool, because it changes your culture and your mindset and your thinking into the way that God thinks. So I really love that. And I love that it aligns people to their purpose and to their calling and to their destiny. I'm really excited. I'm inviting you to come on and join and engage in the Purpose and Leadership Forum. Give us your feedback. There's information on how you can access the program. And yeah, God bless, and let's do this. Bye-bye.
What an amazing introduction from our phenomenal convener, Pastor Angie, as the vision bearer of this conference. She is truly blazing the trail in the Access conversation with the amazing transformation of the Purpose and Leadership Forum into a digital platform to give access to more and impact generations. I encourage you to please sign up today. The link is on the Unstuck website, and we'll be sending you an email as a follow-up. I think for me, what I've picked from this conversation, and an amazing conversation that we've just kicked off with, is it's time for a new way, a new order, a new normal, and a new cycle. So don't get left behind. Remember, our hashtag for today is Access the Conversation, one word. Please tweet and share this event with the hashtag, and let's ensure our friends and families don't get left behind. This is indeed a powerful conversation, and it's a time to have this conversation so we can be equipped for our next. Allow me to quickly repeat the questions I asked earlier based on the requests coming through from the chats. And these were some thought-provoking questions to get us started. So please take these down and you can answer them at your own time. Number one, as a marketplace leader, what has been your moment of being stuck or your area of stagnation, either pre-COVID or even due to COVID? Number two, in moments like these, what is your vision of the future? Because just as our convener has said, what you can perceive, you can achieve. You need to perceive your vision of your future. You need to write it down. And number three, what is your source of inspiration? Where do you draw your strength in times like these? And now, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to introduce our moderator for the next panel discussion. Our moderator for our panel discussion is Ms. Joanne Kimani. She is a Pan-African communication specialist, experienced in designing and implementing communication strategies, media management and training, as well as crisis communication. She is a co-director of Starab Lounges, a leading event furniture rentals company, which she founded together with her sister Doris. She heads the sustainability and partnership arm of the business, which looks at value creation for stakeholders, the economic and social impact of the business operations on the ecosystem, and creating positive and lasting impact on Africa and generations. She is an ardent believer in doing good and is anchored in 2 Corinthians 9:18, which says, "And God is able to bless you abundantly, so that in all things, at all times, having all that you need, you will abound in every good work." And now it gives me great pleasure to welcome our phenomenal moderator and personal friend for today's panel discussion, Ms. Joanne Kimani. Karibu.
Thank you so much, Emily, for introducing me. I think it's very, very interesting, this topic of access. Personally, I'm very excited about it. And Pastor Angie, I'd just like to honor you. Thank you so much for the opportunity to be able to share. It's such an honor to be able to share this platform with you, and more so even to discuss the topic of access, which is at the core of my heart. I'm really, really excited. I think before we move too far, we've got an animation that we'd like to play, and I believe our team is on standby to play it. And after we've watched it, I will then go into introducing our panel.
Pause just for a moment and think of the endless possibilities you can access with a single tap. What if I told you that you already have that power in your hands? We live in an era where access is increasingly preferred to ownership. This is a feature of the gig economy. Christened after the term gigs, large numbers of people work part-time or hold short-term positions. The impact of a gig economy are affordable, customized pricing and more efficient services. Think of the recent disruptions. The biggest taxi company does not own a single car, Uber. Neither does the biggest vacation company own a hotel or villa, Airbnb. The list goes on in music, iTunes, movies, Netflix. And closer home, arguably Kenya's largest bank, M-Pesa, does not own a banking hall. The gig economy is based on flexible, short-term or freelance jobs, often involving connecting with customers through an online platform. The gig economy can benefit workers, businesses, and consumers by making work more adaptable to the needs of the moment and demand for flexible lifestyles. With a global pandemic and the resultant global stay-home and social distancing message, ready or not, the conversation of access is at the table. We are seeking to power a conversation that shifts a predominantly ownership mindset to that of access and to get unstuck from waiting for things to go back to normalcy. History has proven that human nature, wrapped in fabric of resilience, thrives in the face of change. Innovation and creativity are tools that have been used to learn, adapt, and triumph. The famous poet Dr. Maya Angelou once said, "I have great respect for the past. If you don't know where you've come from, you don't know where you're going." Think of the following events. This transformed Kenya's culture and lifestyle, socially, politically, and economically. This era was marked by a fight for freedom and liberty from oppressive rule, segregation, and poverty. Independence was the inheritance passed on to the next generation. Post-independent Kenya. This era was marked by economic growth, and one of the steering tools was the development of education that led to an empowered and productive citizenry. This, together with ownership to land and social enterprise, was passed on to the next generation. Kenya today. This era has been marked by economic globalization that has led to advances in communication technology, trade, transportation, ideas, and culture. Removal of cross-border trade barriers has made formation of global markets more feasible. Wow, so much about access. But that's not all. Join us on the 1st and 8th of August, 8:30 a.m. to 11 a.m. to hear more about this topic, what it means to different people, and how we can leverage it. Access for extraordinary impact. Access the conversation.
Wow, so much about access. And there's still more. I'm very excited. So I'll go straight into it. And I will start by introducing our first panelist. This is Joram Mwinamo. He's a respected leader in the and an entrepreneur who is passionate about all things governance and all things Africa. You can't talk about Joram without talking about SMEs. At the heart of his life's work is a deep-rooted commitment to helping entrepreneurs succeed, and this has seen him mentor more than 400 businesses in advanced management program, entrepreneurs across Africa. He's currently the CEO of Sandbox, a first of its kind solution for startups and businesses looking to scale, bringing together a conglomerate of expertise that would otherwise be out of reach for the average enterprise. He's also the founder of Wild International and our host today at the Sandbox. Karibu Joram.
Yeah, thank you very much. Pleasure to be here.
Thank you. I'd also like to introduce our next panelist who is joining us online, and this is Kennedy Odede. Mr. Kennedy Odede is a social entrepreneur, a New York Times best-selling author, and co-founder and CEO of Shining Hope for Communities, SHOFCO, a grassroots movement which he started with just 20 cents of a dollar or 20 Kenya shillings, and now serves over 1.5 million people to provide access to education, health, and economic services to 11 informal settlements all across Kenya. SHOFCO started with only 3 employees and has over 500 employees to date. In 2018, SHOFCO won the Conrad Hilton Humanitarian Prize, the world's largest humanitarian prize. Kennedy is a young global leader at the World Economic Forum and an Obama Foundation African leader. He is married to his wife and business partner, Jessica Posner. And I'd like to welcome you, Kennedy. We're very excited to have you here.
Thank you so much.
Last but certainly not least, I am pleased to welcome Rosemary Momanyi. Rosemary describes herself as a diamond in the rough. She's currently the marketing partnership manager for Google Sub-Saharan Africa, with over 2 decades of local and international experience. She's worked for organizations such as General Motors, the World Bank, East Africa Breweries Limited, EABL, and Fannie Mae. She holds a Bachelor of Science degree in Physiology and Neurobiology and an MBA in International Business and Advanced Management Program, Management of Global IT from the American University. Growing up, she wanted to be a doctor and even got accepted into the prestigious Johns Hopkins University in Maryland. But God clearly had other plans. She's here with us today to share some of her thoughts on the topic of access. A warm welcome to you, Rosemary, and thank you for honoring our invitation. So I'd like to start with you, Joram, since I'm sat next to you.
Okay.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Actually, you should be welcoming us because we are in your space.
Yes, true. And you've done an amazing job transforming it into something wonderful.
Thank you. You're so kind.
Karibuni sana.
Thank you. We really appreciate being here. And I think one of the things that we can discuss right now is maybe you can tell us a little bit about the space that we are in, because I think as a physical space, it really talks to access. So perhaps we can start with that. Tell us about where we are, the Sandbox.
Okay. So karibuni sana. Welcome to the Sandbox. So the Sandbox is we refer to it as a one-stop shop. This is a place where a lot of businesses, startups, growing enterprises, entrepreneurs can come in. We have about 23 different experts here, and so you can access like all the services you need to be able to scale your business and have people who will handhold you. And we also have a lot of facilities where we can hold events, trainings, and coaching sessions. Yeah, so that's what the Sandbox is. But we have plans to open up others and make this accessible to people on a larger scale as well.
Amazing. I remember when we had our discussion, you told me that in the same way it takes a village to raise a child.
Yes.
For you, you strongly believe that it takes a village of experts to raise an SME.
Yes.
So this is quite a novel idea. Is there any one like this around the world?
We've been looking for examples of something similar, and we cannot find anything that has been built to this extent. So we believe we are the first comprehensive one-stop shop for supporting SMEs like this.
So how did you come up with that idea? That's so interesting.
I think it was an evolution and trying to solve the problem of how do we help businesses to scale sustainably. And it became very clear that they need a lot of different experts and competencies to reach them. But, you know, just in line with the theme of access, all these experts, we used to be in different offices across the city, and it was very cumbersome to have people jump from one office to the next. So we just came up with the idea, you know, why are we in different locations? What would happen if we all came under the same roof? And so that, you know, an entrepreneur can walk into one reception but have access to, you know, as many experts as possible and not have to run around the city anymore. And once we put it together and launched, it has been working brilliantly. And now we are looking at how can we make this accessible to more people on a larger scale across the country, across the continent, across the world. Yeah.
So you say 23 experts. Maybe you can just mention a few.
Yeah. So like, I mean, you're talking, we have an in-house lawyer,
okay.
Legal firm actually that can carry out all the corporate legal functions.
Okay.
We have a HR consultant, finance consultant, IT consultant, governance consultant, innovation consultant, debt collection consultant, like just you can think across the board, anything that a business would need. You don't have to have this in-house now. You can come here and outsource that to the people who are here. They're very competent, very ethical, and you get access to that to grow your business. Yeah.
So if I'm listening and I'm very interested, what happens? Do I walk in here?
Yes.
And who do I see and how do I go about it?
So I think interestingly, just in line with our theme, yes, before COVID, you could walk in easily. We are still here and we are, you know, following the given guidelines. But now you can access us even online, like through our website, and be able to select the expert that you need to see and work with, and you know, contact them, and they can be able to give you the service that you need. Yeah. So whether it's digital or physical, that's possible across the board. Yeah.
Wow, very interesting. I think I'll come back to you, especially because you mentioned that you even have an expert that helps with startups.
Yes, we do.
And
yes, we do.
In this current scenario, we have a lot of people who have great ideas, but they don't know what's next.
Yes.
All I know is my idea is a big one.
Yes.
So we'll get to that.
Okay.
So I'll come to you, Kennedy, and I have read your book, Find Me Unafraid, and I find that book so interesting. Of course, there are a lot of parts of it that are very sad. I remember the first time that I read the book, or that I purchased the book, my friend who'd read it said, just make sure you don't have anything else that you're doing, because you are not going to be able to put the book down. So congratulations, and you know, you won an award for the book. You're recognized internationally for the book. You, together with your co-author and wife, Jessica Posner. One of the things that I found very interesting about your book is that almost every experience that you have gone through has shaped who Shofco is to date. So I remember reading about your mom, and you know, you were brought up in extreme poverty, your formative years, yet you knew that there was something in her. You know, there was a drive, and that drive of hers is the one that made her bring people together. And I think because of that, you just thought, oh, if my mom was educated, how much more would she be able to do? And you started a girls' school. And then I remember you also talked about your very good friend, I think you were about 6 years old, who passed on, who did not have, and only because the parents were not able to take the child to hospital, and it affected you so much. And now you also are providing healthcare, you know, in the urban slums. And there's so much more. I mean, I think also you faced a lot of, your mother especially faced gender-based violence. And as a result, you've started a gender-based recovery center. I mean, I can go on and on. But just welcoming you and wanting to understand your space of access, how this all came about.
Thank you so much, Joanne. Thanks so much for reading the book too. Yeah, so I see access in a different way. Growing up in that kind of poverty, I felt that there was no access for healthcare.
Mm.
There was no access for opportunity. And I realized that from a very early age is that you have to set yourself free to be able to access. I mean, and yeah, so you have to set yourself free first before you start accessing. And I just wanted to have an impact on other people's life. As you can see, that's what's happening now. So right now, we're able to provide healthcare. People are not able to have that access. So, and just to bring something in here is that I was a street boy, and somebody who was living on the street. I had a lot of, you know what I mean, a lot of complaints, you know what I mean, and I was looking for. I felt that was my world until I read a book that really inspired me of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. So my story, simple, is that I got myself set free when I started thinking about other people. You know, access for me is also beyond you. I mean, opening opportunities for other people around you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And I know I'll want to build on that as well. Rosemary, I think, you know, when we were discussing the theme of this year, we discovered that you cannot speak access and not have Google in the room. I mean, Google is the epitome of access. Your theme or your vision is organizing the world's information and making it accessible and useful. And so that's so powerful for us. I think it's so important for us to understand the journey. First of all, the genealogy, I think, of where it all started, because I think Google, having been in this space for more than 20 years, you know, nowadays when you ask, if you're telling someone something and they don't believe you, they're like, oh, hold on, I'll just Google it, you know? It's so quick. So what does access mean to you? And what's the genealogy of Google?
Thank you very much, Joanne, and it's a pleasure to be on this call with everyone. So I wanted to share my screen and just share with you a few slides. So just to answer your question, and that's spot on, we're all about organizing the world's information and making it universally accessible to everyone. And so just to walk you through what that means over the last almost 21 years, Google was founded in 1997, and that's when we registered our name, google.com. Over the few years, we evolved. And again, all of this is around providing accessibility to information so that it's available to everyone. A few years into it, we were able to launch YouTube in our partnership with YouTube. And then we launched various apps and various search tools. And also, most recently, we launched Google Now. I think you guys all remember this. It's the humble beginnings on where Google began 21 years ago. And that's how the website at that point looked like. Again, the goal was to provide information to everyone who was looking for information. Fast forward to 2008, we were able then to see what you see there's very many blue links, and this was very optimal. And so we fast forwarded to 2012, we were able to incorporate images on the various search platforms. Soon we launched the maps, as you see on the right-hand side. And then afterwards, we then were able to integrate and incorporate video as well. So afterwards, we said that it was important to be optimal across all devices, mobile being very, very key. And moving forward, we believe with the future of accessibility, it's all about ensuring that we're able to be adaptable and be able to meet the needs of the users. In this case, it's been a mobile-first market. In Africa and in Kenya, for example, when people come online for the very first time, oftentimes it will not be through a tablet or a computer, it will be through a mobile device. So our goal there is to ensure that we are optimal to first-time users. So in terms of the typical day in life of a smartphone user, for example, they access their phone over 150 times, and that's a lot. Just thinking about waking up in the morning with your alarm, you read the news, and then you get to the bus stop, you listen to a playlist. In the bus, you read articles about whoever you're keen on. You get into the office, you're looking for your next activity after work. You want to go for lunch at lunchtime, you find out where the food truck closest to you is. As you're waiting on the food truck, you launch one of your apps to play a game as you wait in line. You get back home, you go through your evening rituals, you jump into the bed, you drop something, you look for your flashlight to look for that item. So basically, we're constantly on our phones. So we define what we call micro moments, and these moments help us really understand how we're able to be accessible to users who are looking for this information. So there are 4 micro moments. The first one is I want to know. Number 2 is I want to go. Number 3 is I want to do. And number 4 is I want to buy. So across all of those micro moments, we have the answers to help people who are looking for that information. So in terms of how we give out those answers, we have 3 types of responses. One is a direct answer, the other is conversational, and number 3 is to be able to anticipate the needs of our user. So for the answer perspective, here we offer people what we call a knowledge graph. What is that? It's basically facts. So if you want to know, for example, who won the Academy Awards this year, you'll get a knowledge panel that will give you the actual fact of who won the Academy Awards. When you want to think about conversational, we have a tool where it's called OK Google or Google Now. And what it is, basically, it's a tool that helps people who can't, for example, read. They can use voice to be able to ask the tool their question that they would kind of be able to type, and they'll get a response back from the tool. The third one is anticipation. So in this case, for example, you wake up in the morning and you want to go to work, but you're not so sure what is the correct path to choose because you've got maybe 2 or 3 options to go, and you want to know where will be the cheapest, well, the fastest way to get to work. So in this case, we anticipate your request, and we tell you, oh, by the way, Joanne, your drive to work is going to be 42 minutes if you take this path, for example, and therefore you know ahead of time where the traffic will be and be able to anticipate what's happening. So in a nutshell, what that is basically a way for us to anticipate the user's requirements and be more available to people who are looking for queries and for information.
Wow, that's really access. That's so powerful. And I know I'll touch on a little bit of that. And maybe that's a good place to start, Joram. You know, just talking about the evolution of access, from where Rosemary has talked about it, we can see that there's a lot in terms of convenience.
Yes.
You know, that we are able to get a lot from the touch of a button. So it makes our life a lot more easier, certainly. And so maybe just asking, what are some of the trends that you have seen? I know one topic that I'm very interested in, that I got to know not too long ago, is the gig economy.
Yes.
What is the gig economy about?
Okay, so what's happening is that the world has evolved in terms of how people work, and the gig economy is defined as people who work, who are independent. They're not employed by a company, and they do short-term projects or work, and then they're paid for the tasks that they do. And those are the 3 things that more or less define the gig economy. When you think about it, the gig economy has existed in Kenya for a very long time. When you drive through some estates and you find ladies sitting outside waiting to be employed for the day, and then they get paid at the end of the day, or people waiting somewhere, they jump onto a truck, go and do some construction work, get paid at the end of the day. That's a gig economy. But what's happened today is that it has become digitized. So now you can access paid work on a short-term basis through an application. And so that has opened up opportunity for it to happen across many other spaces. Drivers with cars can do it through something like Uber. People with extra rooms in their houses or at the back, NSQ, can do it through Airbnb. So we're able to offer services on digital platforms today for short-term, paid services or tasks. There's international apps, Fiverr, Upwork, and the like. Locally, we have things like Kuhustle, Link, Fundi. So it's a growing trend, and it's definitely going to be a very big part of the future of work. Yeah.
Wow, that's so interesting. I mean, just looking at our current scenario, even with the COVID, I think one of the things that we are seeing is, like, for example, think about shared office spaces.
Yes.
People previously were working from the office. Now people are having to work from home.
Yes.
Initially, I think it was a difficult thing to think about.
Yes.
That how are employees going to work from home? And in fact, when people ask, can I work from home? It's like, am I going to be able to manage
it was unbelievable, yeah.
And then now people are working comfortably from home.
Yes.
So that's a level of access.
Yes.
further still, I was very interested to know that a friend mentioned that in New York, they have a cousin who is very fashionable and who likes to wear all the trendy, what do you call them, designer clothes. And one of the things that this friend does is they go to a shop that hires out those clothes.
Yes.
They hire them, the outfit for Monday to Friday, the outfit, the shoes and the bag.
Yes.
And then they take them, I think, to be laundered on Saturday, and then come again, drop them and pick the next outfit for the next week.
Yes.
So they don't own any of the clothes that they have.
Yes.
And every day they dress up like in designer clothes, you know.
Yes.
That's access.
Yes.
Because you're not owning the item. And even closer home, I think a friend mentioned that in Rwanda, they also have, the outfit that they wear, the traditional outfit, very beautiful, that they wear to weddings. And you can hire that outfit. I think it goes for about 5,000 to hire, and it costs 15,000 to buy. But one of the things that they do is they prefer to hire, because who wants to wear the same outfit, especially the ladies, to the wedding, you know? You want to wear it once. So you can see that it's a really growing trend. I mean, it's so interesting.
Yes.
And think about meetings. I mean, Rosemary, you probably can also talk about Google Meet. Maybe just in terms of how it can be used, because again, right now we are in that space. Maybe you can just talk briefly about Google Meet, and then we can move on.
Yes, thank you for that, Joanne. So it's a wonderful tool that used to be at a cost, but then now it's been offered for free. It's available through any of the Google platforms, for example, Gmail. And now when you log into your Gmail, you'll see an icon on your top right that says begin a Hangout or video call right now. You click on it and you're able to input any participant who you'd like to join the meeting, and they'll be able to join. And so now it's available for free, because we believe it's important for us to support people during this difficult time. So it's a wonderful tool. There is no charge for it. It allows for collaboration as well as video conferencing to anyone who uses the product.
You know, while I have you on there, one of the interesting things about what you've said is I thought about a friend who has who works with an artist, with a music artist. This friend is in the events space. And one of the things that he told me is recently, just because of this COVID period, the friend said that he's realized that he doesn't have to have the money to own something. He just needs to be able to access it. And when you think about it, especially in the developed world, I think, that's one to watch. And, having been there in school, maybe you can also chip in just in terms of, there's a sect of the world that doesn't need or doesn't feel they need to own anything. They know that they can access it. So while here locally we think about, I've got to save enough money to buy my own home, to buy this, to buy my car, to buy that. You have a good credit score, you're highly likely to be able to access the same dream home, the same dream car, the same dream everything, Maybe you can comment on that, Rosemary.
Yes, truly, it's all about being able to be prepared when you get the right opportunity. So for me, I believe it's important for you to know where you want to go, have a North Star, have a vision board like we talked about earlier on, and be very clear on what tools are available to you to be able to come online. So for me, the first thing is let people find what your products and services are, and then you're able to then grow your business. So for me, it's important to be visible and to be found by potential users who are looking for your products or services. So coming online is important, and having the tools to be online for now, for many companies, are also available for free.
Thank you. And just coming to you, Kennedy, one of the things that you've said in some videos I've watched of you is that, and also you've talked about it today, is about the community taking ownership. And I think you talked about how when you were growing up, I think there was a disappointment in terms of some of the NGOs that would come and help in the slum areas, because there wouldn't be, I guess, that sense of ownership by the community. And it reminds me of a quote that SK Blue, many of us know him. He was a musician and producer, and is now an entrepreneur. He gave a comment and said, what you own, you protect. And what you access is protected. And I found that to be so powerful, because it just means that if we can get others to take ownership in things, then they are likely to help us to protect it. But if we then want to hoard everything to ourselves, then who's going to protect it for us? So when he said that, I felt that is so aligned to what it is that you're doing. And I'll just repeat the quote again, that what he said is, what you own, you protect, and what you access is protected. Maybe you can give us a comment about that.
Thank you so much, Joanne. And as you're talking also, I was thinking about where the world is going now with this access, all these things. And if you look back, there's something we are forgetting. We see that the world is becoming too much materialistic, and it's making us unhappy, okay? And this is really, I've been really thinking about this a lot. So then I remember back my life in Kibera, it was all about communal. If you have a toilet, that toilet, pit latrine, was shared by over 50 families. And we have to make it clean. You see? So that's another way to look at it, you know what I mean? So the communal way of thinking has been there for many times. But what's happening in this kind of communities is that people come in looking down on them, that they don't have solution. Therefore, what happening is that they don't have that what? Ownership. You see? Because as you say about the quote, if you own something, you want to protect it. So that's what the idea of coming up with the SHOFCO was, that can community really own their own growth? You mean, Kibera Kazan can be dirty. Why do you have to wait for the government to come and clean our street? Okay? So what SHOFCO started was that giving these people that access. I mean, that we own this place, we live here, we are the one wearing the shoes, we know why it's pinches, you know what I mean? And it really gave me a lot of hope and admiration to see youth, young people, cleaning their environment, people taking care of their toilets, people looking at each other, you know what I mean? And that's what I call ownership. And to bring it back to the access, so SHOFCO started with a football, soccer ball. That was my first access, with these 20 shillings. That became access for me to bring in the community, to take what? To take ownership. So we could come together, play the football together, and then discuss issues. And through that way, we were able to own our community. And that way really happened well, whereby we even protect our sisters, our moms. We didn't want to see any rape in the community because we own the neighborhood. Thank you.
So interesting. What would you say you're proudest about? I mean, I know you're always in the community. And every time you show up, I mean, people just come and circle around you. But what is it that makes you so proud every time you go?
Yes, I feel that many things, but the biggest thing is my life really reflects SHOFCO. So I was hopeless. We didn't have food in our house. At the age of 10, I ran away to be chokora. What was that? I was lacking something to me, the hope. And I feel through God's grace, we have been able to bring hope to the community. Because for me, with hope, you can dream. With hope, you are looking forward for the next step. With no hope, your life is finished. With no hope, you don't feel dignity. So I see hope in these communities, and that's really something that I'm happy about.
That's so powerful. So it's not just access to the amenities, but it's access to hope, because there's so much one can do when they are hopeful. They can go so far. So that's very, very interesting. Joram, I can just come back to you. I know one of the questions that one would like to ask you as a strategist. I have a great idea, you know. A lot of Kenyans have great ideas. I mean, yes. You've met so many people who have such brilliant ideas all the time. But the issue is how to take the next step. Like, how do I take my idea to the next level?
Yeah.
People are thinking about all these things that we're discussing about access, especially I think anybody who is under the age of 20, the things that they think about are amazing. But then you find that the person is thinking, okay, I don't own anything, so I don't have collateral. It's going to be expensive to be able to get funding for my business. I'm also scared, and this is also a question that I'd like Rosemary to answer, that my idea could be stolen, you know. So I think, and also there's just the fear. So what would you say?
So I think in the times we are living in, and people may be surprised when I say this, I don't think there's been an easier time to start a business than today.
Wow.
Okay. I know there's a lot of doom and gloom. I know there's a lot of, negativity maybe going around because of COVID. But my belief has always been that with every crisis comes an opportunity, because a crisis in a sense resets how people do things and forces people to look at how to do things in a different way. And so like today, I always joke that COVID is a chief technology officer in every organization. People who are resisting going digital have been forced to, because of the situation that's there today. And as a result of that, it has opened up a lot of opportunity for people who can help others go digital, take their services onto the digital platform. And that opportunity is also global. A lot of people, have been going online and then realizing they can access a much wider target clientele than they would have if they were to do it physically. And so digital has really shifted how the world is working today. It has created a lot of opportunity. I'll just give you something interesting. Like when it comes to the gig economy, we have about 40,000 people who've been, seen to work through these kinds of platforms today. But we actually have about 5.3 million informal workers. For me, that gap is an opportunity for someone to create platforms that can help all these people to access work in a more formal way, in a more transparent way, and in a safer way, because that's what platforms tend to do. So that's just one example of the opportunities that are there. We went digital as soon as COVID hit and started to do a lot on the online platforms. We've been able to hold, events where we've had up to 400, attendance, something we would never have been able to do. So digital is giving access to a lot of new opportunities. And I think people should get into the mind frame of opportunity, not, looking at the dark side of what's happening today, but looking at what opportunities are coming about as a result of this. Because in my opinion, there's never been greater opportunity. You don't need to own, you just need to find a platform which you can access, or create one which can help you to access that opportunity. And there's a lot that can be done when that is in place. Yeah. That's
amazing. Rosemary, what would you say about, as a person who's been in the innovation space, it is a genuine fear that people feel, I've got this great idea. And it is true that there are times when people have shared their ideas, they've been taken up by maybe an organization that has deep pockets, and they didn't get much out of it. How does one go about just ensuring that, their idea is protected and nurtured and taken to the next step?
Yeah, very good question, Joanne, for that. So what I would do if I'm any SME who has an idea, the first thing you want to do is to protect your idea. So go and find out where you need to go and have that idea registered. Make sure you get the rights for that idea, whether it's a software, whether it's a product or a service. Just get a way to have it registered in your name. Then step number 2, before you share it with anybody who isn't a family member or even a family member, step number 2 is get them to sign a non-disclosure agreement. And you can go online and then Google NDA, and there are very many templates that exist. Pick one that meets the needs of your product or your tool or your service, localize it for yourself, and then get this person to sign the NDA to acknowledge that this idea that you will share with them is yours, and they cannot disclose it to anyone without your permission or without your authorization. Once they have signed the NDA, then now you can go ahead and now maybe share with them. If they're keen, go down the path of engaging a lawyer to ensure that you get equitable rights of the idea or the product or the tool, and then make sure that you, along the way, just keep track of what's happening on that pathway as well.
Oh, that's very interesting. Thanks for that. And just about maybe also, Kennedy, I think I would like you also to weigh in terms of where one starts. Some of us have a real burden, someone has a real burden for children or women or education, someone wants to do something in the sustainability space or wants to just offer a contribution, I think one of the things that you have done is you have dispelled the fear that we have sometimes, where we feel that we need money to be able to actualize vision. You know, the numbers are just mind-blowing. I think I was just looking at the statistics. Currently in this COVID period, you're offering water to over 1,500 households a day. I mean, it's just amazing. But just going back to you, I'd just like to know, one, how can one partner with you? Because in this era of access, sometimes we don't have to start our own thing. We just need to be able to partner with the right people. So how does one start? And secondly, how does one partner? And not just with yourselves, but just how does one go about partnerships?
Thank you. Yeah, I feel like at this moment, people are feeling stuck. And I felt stuck in my life when I was living in Kibera, you know. And the thing that you have to remind yourself is that a long journey starts with a single step. And you can also, what I also learned in my life is that you cannot do anything alone. You need other people. And that's why I was able to go out and work with the community. And if you look at Shofco now, we don't really own this Shofco Urban Network, whereby we have over 500,000 members. It's a network. So we come in to partner with them. You know what I mean? Then when you look, when you really start feeling down, look around you, look at yourself. This is what really gave me courage. I have my eyes, I have my hands, I am blessed. Why am I complaining? I can have impact, no matter how much is it. So I believe in the idea of action. People really, you can plan for your entire life, planning how you're going to save the world, planning how you're going to help the children. I'm asking you, you can still transform the world by transforming your community, your neighborhood, with just the way you are. So that's the advice. Even right now, Joanne, things are happening around the world. Have you even asked yourself, where was that watchman? Where was that cleaner in our office? Who can come? And maybe for them, just 100 shillings really goes a long way. Have you thought in that? So we think sometimes of doing big things, and yet we forget the small things that have a bigger impact. That's my message.
Really like what you've said, because I know our convener, Pastor Angie, is very passionate about that. When we did the Purpose and Leadership Forum, one of the chapters that we discussed was building of the wall from where you are. That's something that I'm also passionate about, that even as we think about impacting the world, let's first start by impacting those around us. So start by building the wall outside where you are before you get to other places. Do you want to comment about that, Joram?
Yeah, I agree a lot with Kennedy. A lot of people spend too much time dreaming, not enough time taking action. And it's interesting how the smallest of ideas, like looking through Shofco's story, it's something can start very small, but with time, if you're diligent, consistent, persistent through finding solutions, it grows into something significant. I've had a similar experience, but from the corporate side, where we've been able to build, if you saw what Wild was and what it has translated to become today, it's just about taking consistent action. That dream that you have, start by solving the problem on a very small scale. If you're able to master it, as Kennedy says, if you're able to help your watchman or the person who works for you, you can be able to grow from there into the next and the next and the next step. So we just started on a very small scale, working with very small clients or small projects, and ended up building up and building up. And as people have trusted us, they've entrusted us with more and more. And that's how we've been able to grow and build to the level we are. And you're also able to learn a lot in the process. And because now our dream is even so much bigger than what we've achieved to date, because we've been able to get access to capital, access to people who can accelerate and champion our cause, access to people who can add even greater ideas. So it's all about take that first step to get started. You'll be surprised what it turns into in 10 or 20 years. I think we also just saw the story of Google. Started from a very simple, small thing. Yeah. Today they're dominating the globe on access to information. Yeah.
And I think something else that is also very powerful is when we think about solving a need, you know. So if I'm driven by money, I probably will not go that far.
Yes.
But if there is an issue that I am solving, like now, for example, during the crisis of COVID-19,
Yes.
if someone comes up with an idea that is helping in this crisis, they are more likely to succeed.
Yes.
But just encourage us in terms of you. I mean, you talked about the fact that you started quite humble. You know, just tell us, what was that like, and where are you now? What are you proud about?
Okay, so we actually started out. It's very interesting. Wild story. We started out in youth development and a space where there was no money when we started. This was about 2004, and evolved. Started to offer corporate learning services, and then eventually we went into entrepreneurship development, which is what we are big in now. And in 2010, we started out with a class for entrepreneurs that has grown to the point where we were able to attract capital to set up this sandbox as a model. And going forward, we are looking at now scaling the sandboxes. We actually have a vision that maybe in the next 10 years, we'll be able to reach 100,000 entrepreneurs across Africa,
fantastic.
Creating over 500,000 jobs. But that vision has grown from when we started out in youth development. Our passion was always developing Africans to see themselves as people who can come up with great ideas and scale them. And we've worked with quite a number of customers who've grown. Some crossed the billion mark of,
Wow.
Of turnover and the like. So it's just to tell Africans, believe in yourselves. God didn't create us to be lesser beings. We are just as great as the rest of the world. And so we want people to see that greatness in themselves, find opportunities of partnering with people who can bring that out of themselves, and then be able to grow and have that impact on a larger scale. Yeah.
You know, one of the things that I really like, I think when we were discussing about the sandbox, is you mentioned that it's not a touch and go.
Yes.
So I don't come and access the service one-off and go away.
Yes.
But it's a coaching kind of scenario.
Yes.
So maybe you can just talk through that.
And it's interesting because even Kennedy mentioned it. It comes from our culture as Africans of community, and that's why we call it the village formula. And so we say that, if you're going to achieve some greatness, we have to work together. And so we don't just train people and give them knowledge, but we also handhold, coach them, and walk with them that journey so that we can, tackle the different problems. And as they grow, the problems get bigger, but we walk that journey with them to make sure that they succeed, and always grow to the next and the next and the next level. So we've had people grow from local companies, open several branches, and then go in, regional and continue to scale through Africa. And we encourage everyone. It's possible. It can be done. We are in the process of doing it ourselves. So it's quite possible. Yeah.
That's so exciting. Yeah. One of the things, Kennedy, I think just coming back to you very quickly, how can one partner with Shofco? How do we partner?
Good. So Shofco, we work even in Kisumu, the county of Kisumu, Nairobi, or Mombasa. We partner by people bringing skills and honestly simple things to be told. Right now, we are in emergency. People are struggling. If you have a cloth that you don't wear, honestly, start from there. You have something that's just choking in your house you're not using, it will have a value in somebody's life. I mean, we don't need much. So if right now people really even don't have soaps, to be told. Some people even don't have food. I mean, so the little things that you can have can really have a bigger impact. So yeah, that's my message. And then I want to add something on my brother Joram that he said that I really touched me a lot. It's the same with Google. Think about this. What people do in our life is that they think so much about themselves. I want to be famous. I want to be rich. And God is looking at you. Brother Joram says something here. It's all about service. What is your business going to do beyond you? I mean, so I really love Joram's business. It was all about humanity. So as you pray to God, as you have a plan, don't just be rich. Don't just make money. Look at Google. It was beyond money. Money will just come itself. That's what I believe in. I never knew my life will change. When I look at my children now, honestly, the school they go to, the life they live, I'm like, God, you are giving me back. I never expect this. But please, let's focus on what impact we can have on people's life in that business you're working on. Thank you.
I'd like our technical team to play a video because I'd like us to discuss specifically about unstacking in the COVID era. And I think they're on standby to play that, and then we're going to discuss that as our next segment.
My name is Patrick Namwambo Dale, owner of Fulana Sports. At Fulana Sports, we selflessly dedicate our lives to others through exercise, mindfulness, healthy eating, physical rehabilitation to make a lasting impact on our members' wellness and vitality. As a result of the current COVID-19 pandemic, just like other businesses, we have adapted to a new normal by increasing our dedication to our clients and identifying a few blue oceans. Apart from our normal fitness operations, we are currently selling temperature measurement systems. Our temperature measuring devices are designed for access control, ideal for healthcare settings, government buildings with inflow of public traffic, schools and colleges, places of worship, transport hubs, hotels, supermarkets, and retail shops. My takeout this year is this. Looking at the events that led to the shutdown of our fitness operations, it is a brutal fact that we are entering a brutal phase as a business. It is a fact that many businesses will struggle to recover the COVID-19 crisis for the reasons beyond their leaders' control. It is my takeout that those who will survive will be the ones who have easily accepted these facts. And they have a very strong belief that they will prevail upon this crisis with a long-term vision. Fulana Sports encourages you to access the conversation. Access the conversation and be like Fulana Sports.
So Joram, having watched that video, I mean, you really have to give it to Kenyans for being adaptive and being resilient.
Yes.
And actually, one of the things that he did not mention in the video is that he started to hire out his gym equipment.
Yes.
So you go there and you pick your dumbbells and whatever it is. And of course, that was never a possibility before.
Yes.
But now it's a possibility. So it's almost like it's even opened a new area and a new way of doing things. Yeah. I think what we need right now is a lot of encouragement to look at, and Pastor Angie talked about it, just to look at that it's a new era, to look at the fact that God is doing a new thing. I mean, I can even add that our hospitals have not been well equipped for a very long time. And now the announcements they're making is from 60 bed capacity, we are now at 300 bed capacity. Of course, COVID is not going to be there forever, but those facilities that were much needed are going to be there. This part is really about unstacking. Our theme for this year when we talked about it was, how do we get unstuck from thinking and waiting for things to go back to normal? Because this is our new normal for now.
Yes.
And therefore, what can we do?
So I think it's very important to keep a positive mindset. If you think it's all doom and gloom and there's no hope because of COVID, that's all you're going to see. you'll just be seeing the, the news reports every day of the number of infections and deaths and all sorts of things. But if you look at the other side and say, this is also going to pass, there's a lot of opportunity. As Patrick has said, he was able to see an opportunity for doing the thermal, gadgets that, in fact, I might need to talk to him. I've seen something very interesting there. So he saw a new opportunity out of the crisis. He was able to deliver the gym equipment to people's homes. But what we've been telling people is that the needs have not gone away. For some people, the income may have reduced, but the needs are still the same. The needs to celebrate, the need to have events, the need to do all sorts of things. So when you look for the opportunity, if you look at in 2008, when we had the financial crisis in the US that took the whole world down with it, that's when your Ubers and Airbnbs were born. So out of every crisis, we always have a new era of innovations that grow after that. And it's the people who are able to spot those opportunities and take them up who tend to be the winners after that.
Yeah, I remember that SK Blue at some point last year, we had a discussion and he said, never waste a good crisis.
Yes, you should not.
So we are in this physical space. Your office is beautiful. It's amazing. You launched the Sandbox, I think around March or February.
February, yeah.
Initially, it was people were meant to come here physically.
Physically, yes.
So now applying it to yourself,
yes.
You're giving us advice for the audience.
Yes.
Now you're also having to take your own medicine.
Yes.
What has the process been
like? Yeah. So we didn't take long to adapt, because we realized that once the government made the announcements around no movement and people to work from home, even our own staff went to work at home, and we immediately moved online. And we began to do a lot of, first of all, free webinars to support people. It's very interesting what has happened since, because we are online maybe twice a week, every week, with different topics, using the different experts to help people to just cope with COVID. But as a result of that visibility, especially on the digital platforms of LinkedIn, Facebook, Google and the like, we've ended up attracting a lot of attention of organizations, because a lot of people say this seem to be the only people with solutions for entrepreneurs at this time. So we have attracted a lot of institutions that want to partner with us. We've already started doing so with 3 banks, 2 insurance companies, about 2 development agencies, and a lot of others in the pipeline. So I told people, surprisingly, we might end up doing a lot more revenue this year than we did last year, just simply because we were adaptable and we entered a new space and people saw us as the only solution providers in that space.
Wow.
Yeah.
And maybe I can just ask, what's a trend? Which industries do you see thriving during this COVID period? Given that you work with SMEs a lot, what are you starting to see?
Yes, so I think a lot of people who will be very adaptable, especially on the digital space, are going to be winners. Many people who are able to figure out how to take every offline service that there was onto some kind of digital platform will continue to be in business. E-commerce is going to be a big thing going forward. A lot of people resisted it. Now they've been forced into it, including supermarkets. Anybody who is able to take their service onto a digital platform is preparing for the future, because these trends are not going to reverse.
Yes.
The gig economy is going to keep growing. I think it's going to grow like 30% year on year for the next few years, and maybe accelerate after that. So we always tell business people, do not be stuck on how things have been done in the past. Otherwise, you'll find yourself caught out or out of business. Start thinking about where is the future going and start preparing for it and getting onto those platforms.
Wow, I really like that. Kennedy, perhaps you could also comment on the gym owner, what you thought when you saw the video and about adapting. And then also, I read that in responding to the COVID-19 outbreak, Shofco has been able to supply or to reach 1.8 million slum dwellers. And I mean, we're talking about 4 to 5 months now. What has that been like?
Thank you. When I look at the gym owner, I was thinking of Pastor Angie's point of bouncing back. I mean, no matter what's happening, you have to bounce back. I mean, and looking at the opportunity which is there. And as now we are seeing a lot of darkness. What is that at the end of the tunnel? And I think the gym owner kind of saw that there is a gap. So at this kind of crisis, we might spend most of our time complaining, crying, you know what I mean? And then the more you focus on that negativity, you forget the part of positive. I mean, so I'm really inspired by the gym owner, you know what I mean? And then coming back to Shofco, what we are doing now during this COVID, truth be told, we were really surprised. Nobody expected what's going to happen. We all have our plan for the year 2020, you know what I mean? But I went back again to the community. What is the power of grassroots? Is that idea of working together. How can you work together to fight COVID? Despite living in 10 by 10 with 6 people, where there is no toilet in the house, no running water, it was going to be tough. So we came with what's called innovative ideas. In every slum entry point, we put what? Hand washing stations, manned by the community. We were able to work with community health workers in the slums who are going door to door. And believe me, I've seen a big impact. And right now, we're now in a campaign of what? Of masks. So what we learned was that people really didn't buy in that it's Corona. They were like, no, government want to make money, it's not African disease, you know what I mean? So why? Because they didn't own it. When the community start owning and believing that, yes, there is Corona, then they start coming with innovative ways of how to fight it. People are not wearing masks. And we came with the idea of why they're not wearing masks. They think is that they better die from Corona than to die with no food, from hunger. So we are now having a campaign of now distributing masks to everybody and using community local leaders because they have to know that it is important. So that brings back to what's called ownership. Thank you.
And just to ask, I mean, for you to be able to reach 1.8 million people in such a span of time, for sure it means that there has to be a lot of cooperation, a lot of trust, because also this is a time when people don't want to move around too much, they don't want to mingle too much. But what do? You have to reach the people. So it means that you really must have the trust of the people, and you also have to have your logistics in check. So I'm just trying to understand as well, going forward, are there things that COVID has helped you to learn now that even post-COVID is going to make your operations even better?
Yes, Joram, I feel like we have to invent, we have this huge network of members, almost 500,000, you mean? And we have been doing it manual. And looking now that we have to come up with that technology, an app that we can communicate. And then also for me as Kennedy personally, COVID has taught me something. I'm always on the run. New York, London, meeting, fundraising, you know what I mean? I never really stop anything. I am spending a lot of time. I am having access to my beautiful twins, access to my 6-month-old baby, access to my lovely wife. So we really spend, she's also a busy woman. We never spend a family time. So for me is look at that flower. If you look deeply, you can see what? You can see the thorn. So right now in this thorn time, I'm looking at the flowers and I'm taking advantage and appreciating this access that Corona brought to me, that I can work from the house and I can be with my family. Thank you.
And I remember also, one of the other things you mentioned is it's also given you time to breathe, think about why you started Shofco in the first place, connecting. So maybe that's also something that you can talk about.
Yes, so life is a marathon. And, and Shofco was just an informal organization, which has become now formalized. Where we have a New York office, we have 500 people. And sometimes you can forget why it was started. With no money, with just belief that the community can change their own life. And now it has grown big. So now is a time for me also to reflect what is next. Are we going to move beyond Kenya as the urbanization is becoming a big issue in Africa? So I've gotten a lot of time for myself to reflect and also appreciate. And just to the last one is, and also to feel, I also feel a lot of blessings from God. Honestly, just looking back at my life, looking at my children who are going a different lifestyle. And sometimes I never appreciate those things. I think it's normal, you know what I mean? It's not normal, you know what I mean? It's a blessing. So it also given me that thing of appreciating at the same time as I keep on reflecting for the next step. You got it.
Yes, I do. Thank you so much. And just coming to you, Rosemary, I know you're going to, I'd like to hear your thoughts about how we can leverage this COVID situation and what Google has in store for us. But even before that, just on the back of what Kennedy talked about, access to family. I remember watching a webinar, a family webinar, where one of the parents was saying one of the things that COVID has done is that it has given us access as parents, access to our children, and it has given our children access to us. And the person was saying, right now they're working from home, so finally their children know what they do for a living, because they've always been seeing daddy living, doesn't know where daddy goes. Now they come, they show them on the laptop, I'm working. The parent was also saying, he would have wanted on a random Monday to go and pick the child up from school, but you're not able to because school is in session. But now you're able to do those little things. So just from a point of family and access, access to family, what's your comment before we get to the rest?
Yeah, so to me, it has been a blessing because I have a newborn as well. And so being able to be home, I was supposed to go back to work for maternity, but I'm home. So for me, it's a blessing in disguise to be able to watch this little one grow and have his mother present throughout this journey. So for me, it's been great. But I also have a 4-year-old, and she began distance learning as a 4-year-old. You can imagine how tough it has been. So I was forced to really put on my hat as a teacher for a 4-year-old and learn how to teach her in her language that she understands. And so I got a big, I truly appreciate teachers today, because I've truly, I don't know how they do it. I'm so amazed by our teachers. So now I really thank God for them, because having to teach a 4-year-old is not easy. And I can imagine it gets on me harder as the kids grow older. So for me, I've been able to be very grateful for the chance to learn and to appreciate the teachers in my life, and more so to be able to just understand that it's a blessing to be here and to be alive, and not to take any day for granted. So for me, I believe it's taught me a lot about gratitude and to have a big respect for our caregivers, most of those who are in school, and also the importance of just listening to the government and following by those rules and guidelines. So for me, it's been an eye-opening experience as a mother, as a parent, and also as a citizen of this wonderful country of Kenya.
We come back to you. Maybe, do you want to weigh in on that as a parent? Access to our children access to us?
Yes. I guess COVID has really forced us to have a different way of looking at things. Same thing for my wife and I. We both, work out of the home, and during this period I've had to spend a lot of more time with our children. We've learned a lot of things about them that we didn't know before. I find that we are probably becoming better friends and having conversations we probably wouldn't have had before, because now we know a lot more, having spent a lot more time with them and doing a lot of things with them. So there might be the generation that, things turn around as a result of what happened during this period, because a lot of parents are rethinking what it is that they've been investing in and whether they can even spend more and more time with them. It's also interesting, like for me, my family is also distributed around the world, okay, like my sisters and the like. So for the first time, we've been able to just jump onto digital platforms and meet and talk as a family, even including my dad in Shags, and get onto a Zoom call and just get to talk and hear what everyone else is going through. So I think it's also taught us from a family point of view that we can access a lot more than we thought before.
Yeah. And it's also taught us that you miss that warmth, hugging people.
Yes, yes. The social amongst us are really suffering as a result.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Rosemary, from a Google perspective, what support can we get during this during this COVID period and post?
Yes, a good point. I don't know if you can see my screen, Joanne.
Yes, we can.
Great, yeah. So just similar to what we heard from Kennedy about giving hope and dignity to SMEs, we've seen the headlines across the region in terms of how SMEs are really struggling and they're really suffering, and more so, they need our help. And so what we have done as Google is we were able to do some research, which we were able to help us understand what the need states are for these SMEs. Number one is they need funding. They have lost their source of income. They don't have a way to survive or even pay their rent or even pay their staff. So they're really struggling and they need to help. They need help with funding. The second need state is they need services and they need tools. So it's very important for us to realize that these SMEs are struggling because they don't really know how to come online, and they've been operating through either a car or a home or a small shop or a shack somewhere. So they don't know how they can be able to access their customers if those areas have been closed. And then third and most key is they need customers, because these customers will give them money to get the revenue to conduct everything else. So we were able to come up with a couple of offerings that I'll just like to walk you through really quickly. This one is called Google My Business. It's a allows SMEs to show up on Google Search and Google Maps at no cost. So ideally, the key here is they need to find a way to be digital, and most of them don't know how to even create a website or come online. So we're offering them a fundamental tool for them to show up. This tool has no cost. It's super easy. It's super fast. It takes minutes to just log on. And it's basically what you then see. If you look for a plumber on call, you'll see the plumber, their address, their phone number, when they're open, and how to reach them if they have a website. So it's powerful. It cuts across search and Google Maps. And I think it's a no-brainer that SMEs should have this tool as soon as possible. Tool number two is basically what we call a website. Again, we're offering one that is completely free. There's no cost to this website. It takes less than 10 minutes to come online. Number one is just create your profile. Number two, you edit it, add your profile, your photos, your digital gallery, etc. You hit publish and you're up and running. Again, there's no cost to this platform. It's completely free. Number three is for those who now want to go one step further and do campaigns and amplify their visibility online. We're offering them Google Ads. Again, normally it would require you to have an agency to build a campaign for you and have the campaign managed by you. In this case, we're saying for SMEs, for now, it's free. Just create have your money to run the campaign, but don't worry about setup or management. We'll do that for you. And then we have a partner that we work with in Africa called Africa 118. They're the ones we pay to execute these profiles for our SMEs. They'll build the profiles, they'll build the websites, they'll run the campaigns. So again, for the SME, it's a no-brainer. Everything will be done for them. Let them just come online, let them have their hope, let them have their dignity. And so what are we doing as Google to help these SMEs address these needs? We'll be offering grants to SMEs across Africa, because we believe the first need of our need funds is so critical for to survive. So we are partnering with banks and various groups to help either offer cash advances or offer them funding for them to at least stay afloat or remain alive. Number two, for the part around tools and services, again, we're going to be launching this in the next few weeks. We're launching a marketing kit. It's going to be a tool that can be used by SMEs anywhere they are. For those who don't have the money to go and create their own banners or their own just put in their business profile or their website, it'll create for them a banner or an ad or a banner that they can then put on their social media handles, of the Instagram or Facebook, and they can advertise their products in multiple platforms. Number two, we're launching is called Market Finder. So for SMEs who have products that can be exported outside of Kenya and they don't really know where to go, this tool will help them understand where else in the world can they sell their product. Is it in Germany or in Japan or in the US? So for example, there's a partner here in Kenya who sell organic soap. When they launched this tool, they found the same queries of that profile in the US and in Germany. And now they're going to start exporting their soap to the US and Germany because of this tool. Help them understand where they should go and who they should partner with to get the product outside of the country. So it's a very powerful tool. Number two, we'll be launching a hub for SMEs. This hub will contain all SME resources, from the free website to the marketing kit to the market finder. So it's going to be live in the next few weeks, but it'll house all the info for the SMEs to be able to learn where they can go for funds, for services, or for tools. And number 3, we are looking for partners. So if you have a product, a service that can support SMEs in this time and age, we'd love to partner with you and see how we can amplify what you have and make it available to even more SMEs in the country or in the region, because we believe it's important for us to work together as one to address these SME needs, because we really feel like it's our role as corporates to give these SMEs hope and to use Kennedy's words, because I believe it's so powerful if we're able to offer ourselves as service to them. And then finally, for them who need customers, again, it's very simple. Come online. That's step number 1. Let us help you be found by your customers who are looking for you online. Let's help you build your campaign. Let's help you build your ads. Again, there'll be no cost to you to come online, but if you want to do a campaign, there's a small fee for that, but that can be discussed in the future once you're ready for that next phase. So finally, I want to just end by playing this video that shows an example of an SME who's been able to really leverage these tools. It's an SME in South Africa. I don't know if you can see my screen now. I'm just going to try and see if I can play it. Can you still see?
Yes, we can.
Great. I'm just play this video, and I hope you'll be able to hear it.
My inspiration behind my cloth site was to create a range of knitwear that celebrates my traditional culture. I take simple motifs which I reference from museums around South Africa and translate them into modern patterns and designs. Now today we've grown to employ creative people, so I feel proud that I'm doing my part as a South African to confront unemployment. Google has changed the way that I foresee the future of my brand. Half of our website visits have come from Google. And Google My Business has led to an increase of people visiting our stores. Someone would search for African fashion and our search would be high up where people can just press a button and purchase. What Google is offering is an exciting evolution that is happening globally. It feels epic to have Americans buying our brands that I used to watch on TV, and now I watch them modeling our clothes. It feels unbelievable. Google are helping me achieve my dream of taking my Xhosa culture to the rest of the world.
So that's it, Joanne.
I really like that video. I really like the encouragement that's coming through. I'm very passionate about Africa, and I even have a verse for it. The verse is that stone that the builders rejected is going to be the headstone of the corner. And for me, I put Africa in there, that Africa that was previously rejected is going to be the headstone of the corner. And, this gives me a lot of encouragement. And I'm sure you've got a lot more other success stories of where people's businesses, people's hope has been, taken to another level. I don't know whether you want to mention a few more before we move to the next segment, and just how encouraging it must be to play a role in really supporting SMEs and others in Africa.
Yeah, thank you for that, Joanne. Yes, there's one partner here in Kenya, they're called New Start Organics. They used to have a store in Nairobi CBD where they would sell organic soap. And when COVID happened, they had to close and they moved to Murang'a, and that's where they are today. And so they went ahead, built the profile, Google My Business, got the profile online, built their fast ad campaign. And in the last 1 year since they got this profile, they've been able to grow their revenue by over 100%. And even now with COVID, they are still employing people and they're still in business. And to me, that's an example of a Kenyan company here who went online for the very first time, got a profile, and they're exporting their products right now, not just within Kenya, to South Sudan, to Uganda, to Germany as well. So for me, I feel like I'm happy when I see that a company can come for the very first time with no idea how to be online, use its free tools, and then grow. And then through this last 4 months, they're the only one that I know who I can say have been profitable, are employing people, and yet they're in Murang'a now. So I'm honored because I feel like we are having impact, and that's my goal, is to provide impact to these SMEs, for them not to feel discouraged, but to also feel like we care for them and to restore their pride and their dignity in themselves and what they do. As Kennedy said, that to me is just so powerful.
Wow, thank you. Do you want to make a comment? And as you make that comment, I'd also like you to give a comment about what the pitfalls of access, especially in the gig economy.
Mm-hmm.
It's not all rosy.
Yes.
You know, it's true that there's a convenience that we get, but I think also there's some aspects that are interesting for us to look out for, especially if we're looking to grow a good business, but also grow it ethically.
Yes.
What would you say to that?
I think as with every innovation, there'll always be challenges, and there'll always be time when the industry goes through a time of figuring itself out. So when you look at digital-based, jobs on the gig economy, the challenges we've been having is that because people are doing work on a part-time basis or on a task-by-task basis, we don't have the whole, full employment with medical and health benefits and the like. And this has attracted the attention of a lot of regulators who are now looking at how can this be addressed. A lot of the companies will have people registered as independent contractors, for example, but there's a lot of concern that these are people who should no work come in the future. They have no social protection, no pension, and these kinds of things. But I believe it's short-term challenges as industries figure themselves out and as regulators also figure out some of these things. They are very pertinent conversations that we need to have about what this, even as we tap into the new opportunities, what challenges come with it and how can we address them before they become readily accepted. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Rosemary, do you want to make a comment on that as well?
Yes, just to repeat the question one more time. Joanne, I missed the question.
Yes, so I was talking about the pitfalls or the challenges, I guess, that come with the gig economy, for example. What would you say to that? Just in terms of sometimes it's not all rosy. What encouragement can you give? And also when somebody wants to set up such an organization, because people have big dreams, what are the things that they think about?
Yeah. So number one, I guess it's just back to the whole idea is they need funds. They lack the funds. They need the tools and the products, and they need the clients. So if we're able to help them address those three need states, we'll be able to help them overcome those issues. So for right now, most SMEs have no idea how they'll get their funding back in order, have no idea where they'll be able to get the next customer or the next client. So if we can help them understand that it's as we had in the beginning from Pastor Angie, it's about this cycle of life. How we able to reinvent ourselves and think about innovating ourselves to be able to adapt to this new normal. So for me, it's the idea of the gym owner. He was able to think about what's the need that will be required in this day and age, and how can I ensure that I have the right products to address those needs. So being able to anticipate the future need states of your potential clients, and then being able to be one step ahead and prepare yourself to meet those need states will help you think beyond. So I would probably say, if your business model isn't working today, take a step back, reflect on what has worked, and then ask yourself, what can I do differently now to meet this new need of the new online customer? And then move from where you are to where you need to be. And don't be afraid to ask for help. I mean, there's so many free tools available everywhere. So I think the key is just to know where to go for help, but ask. When you ask, there's power in asking, and you'll probably get an answer that will probably help you to the next level. So don't be afraid to ask for help when you're stuck. Seek out that mentor who you require, or that coach who will help you to think beyond your current space, and don't give up is what would be my advice to the clients.
Thank you. And as we draw to a close on our panel, I would like to give the analogy of a pipe. I started to think about this as I was thinking about access as a topic. And, even as you look around here, you see we followed the theme of the pipes. You can see a lot of decor that's been done using pipes, using prefabricated pipes. And one of the things that I really thought about, the analogies that came to mind, was that a pipe follows a flow, and a pipe does not own its substance. A lot of times, if we think of ourselves, we want to own the entire process, we want to own everything, without knowing that as a pipe, I am blessed enough to know that if anything passes through me, so think about a pipe and how it passes liquid and gas and oil, if I think of myself as a pipe and I'm thinking of myself as access, a pipe will always remain wet by virtue of the fact that it is always carrying a substance. And what happens is if you choke the pipe at some point, then it means that nothing will pass through. And if nothing is passing, it means that even the pipe itself is not benefiting. So the individual who is hoarding, for example, is not able to benefit. Another analogy of the pipe was, you know, when a pipe is passing through a place, even during the dry season, you will see that specific area being green. And that tells you that the pipe has impact. So just as we close, you know, there's a lot in terms of analogies about a pipe, you know, just the characteristics of a pipe, allowing access. The more you allow, the more you can do. I mean, a pipe doesn't know the destination at the start, but if it allows the flow, it will go everywhere. I mean, Kennedy, when you were starting this, you did not know that you would be called to speak at all manner of events, receive all manner of awards, impact so many people. And it all started because you wanted to use yourself as an access point. So maybe I'll start with you, Kennedy, that you can give us your closing remarks, and also maybe just make a comment about the analogy of a pipe.
Thank you so much, Joanne. As I look at pipe, and I see also pipe in Kibera, it can be rusty sometimes, it can be broken, but it will still pass the fluid, still pass the water. And honestly, let's look at the pipe again to be people. That's how I want to transform it. For me, pipe is the people who transformed our life. Look at your grandfather. Look at your parents. They did all kinds of jobs for you to have a better life. They are not owning you. They did it so that your life can change. And Joanne, as you think about your life, you will see where the pipe comes from. And and another story quickly to share with you, Joanne, is when I was around, I don't know, I was 12 years old, I was beaten for stealing a mango at Toy Market. And they were going to kill me. And a pipe passed by, a human being, I don't know him today, and stopped beating this kid. And the guy was a man of God, I don't remember. But that pipe touched me. I don't know him. I'm sure I never met him again, but he has an impact on me. So that pipe again reminds myself of what is called, can I be an instrument? That's the thing I asked my God, if I'm honest with you. I asked my God, God, use me to be that instrument that can be of transformation. So I see a pipe as something that it's passing. So as I close my words, let's ask yourself, the listeners, what is coming through you? It is something that does destruction. Because also pipe can come with something that can be destructive. Can be chemicals that can kill. What look inside you? Are you a pipe of positive, of something positive? Are you a pipe that is giving hope? Or are you just a pipe that is diminishing? That's my analogy. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And maybe just coming to you, what's your comment about the pipe analogy, and also what are your closing remarks?
So for me, I think if, you know, that statement of if you forget everything, one thing to remember is that you can never access beyond the level of your dreams. God has given you mind that can dream and conceptualize, and you can never conceptualize something that's impossible. So if you can conceptualize something, if you can dream about something, then you can have access at that level. I remember when I started out this organization, I know I was very ambitious, but with time, I've come to realize that I have access to the entire globe. If it's capital, if it's people who can be advisors, if it's, people who can work with us to help us make that dream a reality. And at this point, we have a really powerful vision. We are looking at going global, building sandboxes across the globe. And already there are a lot of people, especially through digital tools, who've been inboxing us and contacting us and saying, wow, we like what you're doing. How can we become a part of that? So just to encourage people that, if you dream at the highest level, then you can also access at that level. Your pipe can be plugged in at the international level. Nothing is beyond reach today. Build something powerful, and you can achieve impact at a global level.
Yeah. Amazing, thank you. And to you, Rosemary, as well, as you close out, maybe you can give us your take on the analogy of the pipe and also your closing comments.
Thank you for that, Joanne. So for me, it's all about, the pipe to me is the North Star, and my North Star is my purpose, is to seek out, help people achieve their greatness in life. Mm-hmm. And so if you're able to figure out what is your North Star, what is your purpose in life, and just to do that wholeheartedly, I promise you, you will achieve anything. So if I can encourage everyone in this room to figure out what is their North Star, what are they here to do, what has God put in their heart to accomplish, whether it's to impact people's lives, to help them grow, help them succeed. Do that. Let that be your North Star. Let that be your pipe that pushes you forward. Because when you do your purpose, when you live your life in purpose, I promise you, you will go through issues like that cycle we had about in the morning, but in the end, you will emerge victorious because you know you have your North Star, you're clear on your purpose, you're clear on your vision, and you're living your life to fulfill that, to help people in service of others. So that's my closing remark.
So much. I'd like to thank you all for just an amazing time. We've got more questions, a few more that are coming from our audience. Thank you so much for the questions that you're sending. And at this point, I'll hand us back over to the MCs, Emily and Daniel, that they can take us through the next segment of the questions that you have been sharing from the audience. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, what an inspiring and thought-provoking conversation. I'm sure you'll all agree with me that it has been a very enlightening morning as we sat and listened to these phenomenal marketplace leaders. I hope you have been challenged and encouraged by these amazing marketplace leaders who have stepped out and raised platforms to offer access to different sectors and have indeed had an extraordinary impact. A joke that Joram Winamo has shared has struck me. He said, COVID is the CTO for organizations today. It has forced people to embrace and take on digital transformation. And you know, the reality is that sometimes life shocks you into a new space of uncertainty. How do you adapt to change and shift your plan and not only survive, but thrive in the new season? I want to share some personal takeouts that have struck me during this conversation. I mean, there's been a lot of nuggets that have been shared and a wealth of knowledge that is very rich. But for me, just a couple of takeouts. Firstly, never waste a good crisis. I think this is something that has been said, firstly by our convener. I believe our moderator also mentioned it. And in this crisis of COVID-19, what opportunity do you see? Write it down. I'm a strong believer of writing down your vision and your purpose so you can internalize, engage, and push through its manifestation. Secondly, what do you have in your hand? I think today I've been challenged by Kennedy Odede's story. He had a soccer ball, a football worth 20 shillings. What is your soccer ball? What do you have in your hand that can get you started? Thirdly, your end goal cannot be money. It cannot be about making money or being famous. It's all about service. You must seek to do something that is bigger than you. One of my favorite speakers and authors, Sunny Bindra, in his book, The Bigger Deal, puts it in this way. You are a speck on a speck. In the grandiose and grandness that is the universe, we're a very small, insignificant part. But the purpose that God has deposited in each one of us is grand and can only be unlocked when we allow him to use us as vessels. And even just the analogy that has been given of pipes, allowing God to use us as vessels so that we can be able to, impact others with the amazing gifts and talents, solve challenges for others, and transform the society around us today. I believe that we have all been sufficiently challenged. So it's really a question about how we begin to start building our wall where we are. And I think that has really, really come through strongly. Every single one of these panelists are building their wall. and are making a great impact. So I'll go straight into the questions. We've got amazing questions coming through. And I'll start off with our first 3 sets of questions. I'll share a question for each panelist, and then they can take a turn to answer. The first question is to Kennedy Odede, and this question is from Florence Ayeko. And Florence says that she appreciates all the panelists, and she says, Mr. Kennedy Odede has always inspired me. I have a vision that seeks to empower our young girls in the informal settlement, and I am stuck. Could you hold my hand to start this new cycle? That's a question to Mr. Kennedy Odede. Second question to Joram. This question is from Rachel Mutuku. The question is, the concept of access versus ownership is fairly new in terms of conceptualizing it. How do we begin to shift old mental models of ownership, which are deeply ingrained in us, to access perception? That's a question for Joram. I can repeat the question. The concept of access versus ownership is fairly new in terms of conceptualizing it. How do we begin to shift old mental models of ownership, which are deeply ingrained in us, to the access perception? And the third question for me is for Rosemary. What processes did you employ to break down and arrive at the 4 critical needs? And have these evolved over time? So over to you, panelists. We can take it from Kennedy Odede.
Thanks so much, Emily, for clarifying it well. Yeah, so the young lady who want to work in empowering other girls in the slum, I just want to tell her, yes, I'm free, I'm willing to work with you and to hear your dream and share with me. But I think the mistake people do is that, as Joram talked about it, people try to think big. It's good to think big. I love big thinking. But then how do you start what is called step? The one you have to do is that, first of all, you have to believe in yourself. That's number 1 thing. I believe in myself. And then I have something with my God, is that, God, I want to do this for the greater humanity. It's not about me. Then there, in that feeling, you feel that if you do your best, God will do the rest. I mean, so please have a vision and divide your vision into action, step by step. For example, Shofco, I need to have a board. I need to have mentors. What am I looking to? People that can support me. You know, so I'm encouraging you, please just think big, but also act slowly by slowly. Thank you.
Yeah. So the question was, how do we let go of the mental models of ownership of the past? And I think this is deeply cultural in Africa, where land, physical things are a very big deal to us. But I think it's shifting our models from ownership of assets to ownership of value. And value can be created out of very many more things, which is why I'm like, it's much easier to start a business today than it would have been 10, 20, 30, 50 years ago, because the value then was in hard assets like, land, buildings, and cars and these kinds of things. But nowadays you can get access to value without having to own what that is. You can get access to space in people's houses. You can get access to space in people's cars. So it's all about creating a platform that gets access to this value that you can create. There's a lot of value that you can create from data nowadays. Whoever has information or data about a certain thing has created value and can be able to monetize that to a very big deal. So I would just encourage people, forget the old ways. Like, there's still value in land and all these sorts of things, but there's so much more value in information, in data, and that is something we all have access to. So you can create great ideas from that and even get access to capital that can fuel that idea and grow it to a very large scale without owning a single brick or building, and become, access resources and become wealthy to be able to do even greater things. So, I mean, forget the past. The days of land are gone. There's a lot more value. I've seen people who have many acres of land but hungry. convert that into capital that you can put into something that you can grow.
Yeah, I like what you've said. If I can just jump in quickly before Rosemary. There's a gentleman who wanted to build housing for university students. And the area that he wanted to do it was quite affluent, I would say. And so the land was going to be extremely expensive. I mean, it's just an acre is going to be millions and millions. Yes. And what he did is he approached the owner, asked whether he can lease the land for a period of, I think, 50 years or 30 to 50 years. Yes. And what he said is, I'll pay you every month for this land that you haven't thought about using. Mm-hmm. And then after the, once I build it, I will be, obviously what he thought about is I will never be able to own this land. If it's 50 million, I am 25. Yes. When am I ever going to be able to save that kind of money? But I get it now, as opposed to having the money 20 years from now when I can afford it. I access it now, I pay you now. And the take was after the 30 to 50 years, he was going to give everything back to the owner. Mm-hmm. The land, together with the building that was there, to continue from then on. But for him, I think he just felt, rather than wait 20 years, let me access it now. So it's what you're talking about. So Rosemary, to your question, maybe you can give your response as well.
Yes. So it's all about the 4 needs, which are number 1 is I want to know, I want to go, I want to do, and I want to buy. How do we come up with them? It's basically based on users. We did a lot of user research to understand when people type all these queries on Google search, what are the various categories of these queries? And they fall within looking on how to, where to, and what to, and why. And so it was based on analyzing user data, the queries, and putting together in various buckets and being able to mine that data with various insights. Yes, they will evolve over time because the needs will always change. So now it's more around working from home. How do I survive? How do I thrive? And so of course, we'll have to adapt to that now and be able to adapt our models to anticipate the demands of working from home and how we can be able to meet those needs through online solutions.
Right. As we continue to ask these questions, one of my mentors, the late Dr. Miles Monroe, he always said that the true success of a leader is measured in the success of their successors. And one of my reflections during this session is that purpose and this access conversation has one common theme. It's not about us. It's always about others. So we need to get over ourselves, actually, literally. It's not about us, it's about others. So for the second set of questions, I'll start with Rosemary. And the question there is, with access comes data privacy concerns. A lot of people are worried about being monitored. What would you say to someone worried about privacy of their data or voice as collected by Google? There's this perception that Big Brother is always watching. So maybe if you could respond to that. The question for Joram is, how do I position myself for the gig economy? How do I position myself for the gig economy is a question for Joram. And then finally, for Kennedy, what are the biggest challenges to access in the formal settlements? What are the biggest challenges to access in the informal settlements? So we'll just get the responses in that order. We'll start with Rosemary, and then we'll have Joram, and finally Kennedy. Thank you.
Thanks for that, Daniel. So yes, even I am scared about Big Brother watching over my shoulder. And indeed, it is a scare for everyone in this economy, given the fact that we've all become smart, we've all become digital, and we are all online. So what I do is I ensure that I only opt into things that I want my information about. And you're able to turn off sharing on your device, for example, and you can say, you know what, Google or YouTube or Facebook, please don't send me any ads. I don't want to be on anything. I'm going to turn off my location sharing. I don't want to be watched. So you have the option to be able to turn off all of those settings and therefore appear just as you are, not visible by any partner who is looking for cookies. So thankfully, it's not so much the person, Daniel or Emily or Joanne. It's really a string of numbers that basically define who you are, that will say, this is a female, she lives in Kenya, she's in this age brand, and she likes these kinds of things. So we call those cookies. So ultimately, we don't really know that it's a person, we just know it's an individual that fits this criteria. And you're able to turn those cookies off. And on your browser, you can clear your cache and clear all those cookies and ensure that you are able to only opt into what you want into. So you have the option to turn everything off, even location sharing, and just appear as a black box. Or you can opt in to receive only what you want and unsubscribe from what you don't want. So it is possible to switch everything off and not get monitored by Big Brother.
Yes, so there was a question about positioning for the gig economy. It's very interesting because there's an industry that has operated like this almost for its entire lifetime, which is the movie industry, where when there's a movie, people come together, do something, get paid, disappear. And there's a lot of people who've commented that that's probably the future of how work is going to be. So the key question is, what skills do I have? And what skills can I develop, especially those that are really in demand for the future? A lot of them are digital-based or very specialized skills, so that whenever you get onto any of these platforms, you are very efficient, very good at what you do, because people are always looking for quality, consistency, and speed of delivery. And so you can also explore, because there's platforms for creatives, platforms for people who are, skilled to do things with their hands, technical skills, platforms for people who can drive, maybe it's putting up your house or a portion of your house. So these platforms have been coming up every day. I even saw one yesterday just for moving, where you can find people who can help you get a truck and move house within your area. So there's all sorts of ideas that are coming up. And I believe in future, there's no skill that will not be able to be placed on a platform and sold. So it's even during COVID, it's an idea for people who may have lost a portion of their income to get extra income through some of these platforms with skills that they already have, and they can help people around the world to do some tasks that are needed. Yeah.
Thank you. And to you, Kennedy?
Yes. The question was the challenges in access in the informal settlement. It's very interesting. If you think about what people are forgetting is that in Nairobi, for example, over 60% of people live in informal settlement. But the challenge is that even if you are living in a Kibera, or Mathare, Kawangware, you're not able to get really access of a good quality. And I feel like there I'm really worried about innovators. They are losing something there. I mean, if you think of Matatu, it's communal. You don't have to own your car. You go to the stage, but those who are really make it so amazing, whereby you get to a certain Matatu, there is Wi-Fi. You see? So it's about becoming innovative. So I just asking people that please, let's come up with innovative ideas for the slum dwellers. I'll give an example of what we did. So water, interesting. People don't own water. As many people here, they have water in their houses, you know what I mean? In these communities, you have to go for queue to take your water. So what we did is that we talked to them, we came with the idea of an aerial piping water that goes to their roof. So there is no way of getting contaminated with the sewage. And there in the kiosk, you can charge your phone. You see, you can use M-Pesa. You don't need to use your money for this Corona time, So for me, those are innovative ideas of access, you know what I mean? So people just look down on them, but they're also looking forward, for the access that they can contribute onto. So that's the things that I've really seen. I remember, for example, our clinic in Kibera, we have a clinic. You come in, you can get clean water to drink. They want to be treated with dignity. And and one thing I love about Safaricom, I don't want to talk about them too much, they were really able to target that market. And people living in informal settlement are the one who made what? Safaricom, that today. I remember when I was growing up, you see? So it's all that a way of understanding them. So right now, they are struggling with dignity. So come up with ideas that uplift dignity. Thanks.
Thank you very much for those amazing insights. We really appreciate. I believe we have a lot of questions coming through. I believe we'll continue to engage further. I will share one question that will go out to all the panelists. And the question is, what practical steps would you recommend for getting unstuck and moving from potential to kinetic energy, from vision to execution. I'll repeat the question. What practical steps would you recommend for getting unstuck and moving from potential to kinetic energy, from vision to execution? So we'll take this question firstly with Joram going first, followed by Kennedy, and closing off with Rosemary. I'd also like to request Rosemary to make a comment. There is a question that's coming through around the future of education and learning. So perhaps as you close, Rosemary, you could also make a comment about the future of education and learning. Thank you. Over to you, Joram.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much. You could not have asked a better question, because I've been coaching a lot of entrepreneurs, especially during COVID, when people are forced to try out new things that have not done before, go on a platform they've not been on before,
Yep.
build their profiles, learn how to use video conferencing and all these other tools. And I came up with one conclusion, that I've been seeing a trend where the statement is perfection is the enemy of entrepreneurship for me. A lot of people are stuck because they're second guessing themselves, they're rethinking, they want something to be perfect before they go out and launch. They are paralyzed by all these things, which is really about second guessing whether you're really good enough. And I would love to say you're good enough as you are.
Yeah.
Just start. The first one won't be perfect, but you will get better at it as you go along. And then it will improve, and at some point you'll master it. We all started off, fast crawling, then walking and falling all the time. And, now we can run and do all sorts of very sophisticated things. Yeah. So look at getting unstuck as something similar. Do not wait for perfection. Just start where you are. Know that it will not be perfect. Manage your expectations around it, but it'll get you going, and down the line you're going to achieve that perfection through improving day by day. Yeah.
Okay, so first of all, I think that I believe in acceptance. Accept that you are stuck. I think what happened to people is that you don't want to believe that your company is having a problem. No, everything is good. No. Accept that you are unstuck. When you accept you are unstuck, then you can start unstucking yourself, finding out you are unstuck, why. And for me, I think that you have to go deep to yourself, honestly. Why am I unstuck? And then how can you change those things? And then for me, it's all about looking at the light at the end of the tunnel. I'll give you a quick example of how what really inspired me. So when I was living in Kibera, I live in a small room. It was a wooden window. And every time I wake up in the morning, I see that light coming from the window and from the wooden window. And I just felt like, wow, another day has started. And then with this struggle of night, I don't know about this, you feel you slept hungry, is the darkness. And then just knowing that the light is coming. Up to date, my wife will tell you that. I believe that when there is darkness, that's the time to look for. When is the day going to come? Because it's coming. The clock goes round. When you are stuck in business, when you are stuck in your marriage, when you are stuck in everything you're doing, just know that the sun goes around the earth. You know what I mean? So just know that the day is coming. The shining light is coming. Anyway, I don't want to talk about science, but that's my message.
Thank you. And for me, I'll talk about my own experience of getting stuck. I remember before I joined Google, I worked for a big company in Kenya. And I remember I'd been there for over 5 years. And I reached a point where I felt stuck in my career. I wasn't progressing. I had a manager who and I we didn't get along. And I was really struggling just to find myself. I was losing my confidence. I was losing my identity. And I was challenging, why am I here? Who am I? And I remember realizing, here I can't fight it. I'm not going to pretend that it's working out. It's not. I'm getting sick, migraines. I'm unhealthy because of the stress from work. So I left the job. I didn't have anything to go on to. I had a mortgage at that time. I remember I was paying. I was struggling just to remain, but I had to leave because I felt I was in a toxic environment. So I left, and I took some time to just reflect over where I've come from and where I want to go. And that's when I discovered about, living a life of purpose. So I was able to figure out, again, what is my North Star? Why am I here? Who is Rosemary? What is she here on this earth to do? And I wasn't afraid to just cry out to God and ask God for help and guidance. And at that moment, I remember asking friends, hey, I'm out of a job. I'm looking for employment. Do you know anyone? Because I've sent my resume to 100+ companies. I'm hearing nothing from them. What's wrong with me? And I asked for help, and I was able to get help. Someone said, oh, by the way, I hear Google is hiring. They're looking for this role. I think you fit. Just apply. I'm like, Google, how in the world? It's impossible. So I put my resume together again, another version of it for this Google role. I went for the interview, and I got the job, and I was able to thrive. So I can honestly say that, if I hadn't left that environment and asked myself, why am I here? What is my purpose? What am I here to do? And ask for help from those who could help me, I would never be where I am today. So I honestly believe that it's important to, like Kennedy, not that you have a problem, acknowledge it. If you can't fix it, leave. It's better for you to be healthy and alive than to be unhappy and miserable. And then figure out where you're heading. What is your purpose? What is your North Star? And don't be afraid to ask for help, because someone might be able to help you. When you do ask for help, make sure that you are super prepared for that interview. Practice, rehearse. Get yourself in order. Do the part, do the homework, and then apply yourself. And so that would be my advice to help anyone get unstuck if they're in the corporate sector. On number 2, around the future of education, what I would say is what I have seen in the last 4 months to me is just mind-blowing. Those who have been able to thrive are those who've been able to embrace online really quickly. So of course, there's going to be a big gap between the private schools and the public schools. But for those who are able to at least come online, we offer a free tool called Google Classroom. It's a powerful tool that anyone who's in the school and industry can be able to get for free. It gives a chance for people to log online and be able to access the teacher and to share a material and to engage, and there's no cost. And then for those who don't have a way to come online, they don't have a phone or a computer or a laptop, we just launched a program with Safaricom just this week. It's called device financing, where you're able to own a smartphone for as little as 20 shillings. So for those who don't have a smartphone, which you need to come online, go to Safaricom, get this smartphone. It's 20 shillings, pay by pay, Lipa Ndogondogo, get the smartphone, and then find a way to get your school to embrace that for everyone else who can. And then I know we are going to be offering grants to schools as well, because we believe it's important to empower the youth and get them to learn and to educate themselves. So for me, I feel if you want to remain alive, it will be important for you to think about how you can innovate as a school institution and become digital. And for those who don't have the smartphones to log online, there are options now that you can be able to hopefully afford through either grants or funding or by yourself, and just pay slowly and allow your kids to then come online. So it'll be different for everyone, of course. It won't be the same for everyone, but I think it'll be important to acknowledge that. I know that our government is really trying to figure this out. It's a huge problem, but I think for those who will thrive, it'll be those who are able to embrace online and avail those tools to hopefully all their students to engage digitally. So back to the host, Dan and Emily.
Right. Wow, what an amazing session that has been. Thank you so much, Rosemary, Kennedy, Joram, and Joanne. I'm sure we're all wiser and better, ready to access our next. I'd like you all to ask yourself this question, and this is homework for you between this week and next week. Where am I stuck, and what will I do to get unstuck? Based on the conversations that we've had today, where am I stuck, and what will I do to get unstuck? I would like to invite our convener to give us her closing remarks.
Me, I am completely amazed. I hope you are too. I hope you are encouraged. I am ministered to. I have learned so many things. Absolutely amazing panelists. And I've learned so much. I don't think I'm even going to be able to recap all this, but I wanted us to at least wrap it up, and then we need to pray. You know, every time we've had Unstuck, this is the 8th year. There are a lot of people who come to Unstuck to be prayed for. So like Dr. Ed Silvoso said recently, the anointing has shifted to the internet. So we need to shift there. But I just want to say some things that the panelists brought up, you know. Giving others what you didn't have. I love when Kennedy said that, you know, allowing others an opportunity that you yourself did not even have. People talked about books. The panelists talked about reading a book. and changing yourself, you know. Taking your eyes off yourself is a thing that we are always saying, always continuously saying. Take the eyes off yourself. And then also taking steps, you know, starting small and allowing for growth, you know. Start solving problems on a small scale instead of a big scale. And back to the backbone and build muscles and strength for resilience, and bounce back and look for opportunities. Where is the light? I think Kennedy also said that. Where is the light? Look for the light, you know. I love that. Believe in yourself, Africa. I talked about, we have to believe in ourselves. We need a new generation of leaders who are thinking differently, who can see greatness in this continent and in themselves. And something that I started saying like maybe a year ago is that you're enough. You have to believe that you're enough, you know. And they cannot be that other people are flourishing within this adversity, this pandemic, and you are not flourishing. No, we are all the same. You must flourish, you must thrive, you must move. If one man called Kennedy can touch 1.8 million people just by his life, and he could have walked away. If Joram can allow entrepreneurs to gain access, I'm so amazed the things I've learned from Rosemary about Google. For sure, Google is truly your friend, you know. Declutter. You know, we always say, where do we start? Declutter the things that you're not using in your house, in your home, and give them. Somebody else needs them. Shofko said they need them, so give them there, you know, and don't get stuck in our past. And I love also communities working together to create solution. Access to our children. Love how the children show up in the screen. You know, I like it. You know, in the beginning, everyone was we were trying to keep their children away. Now they just walk past the screen. We salimia them. We say hi. We wave and we move on, you know. And I like that, because before we'd have a heart attack if the children walk through the screen when you're on a Zoom call. But now we're relaxed. We wave at the children and we're fine, you know. Every teacher needs to give every parent needs to give their teacher a gift. You need to come collective together and gift your teachers, because you're unable to handle one child. They've been handling 21. It's amazing, you know. And I love also, this is also something that Joram said, that the impact on our children because of this season will be felt later. It's amazing that even out of negativity, I think in Genesis, God says, whatever was meant for harm is able to turn into good. That this impact, this staying at home with our children, this being closer with family is going to have an impact, and we're going to see that impact. I love the fact the funding for the SMEs, the job, the wealth creation, the support, the tools, access to online. I love the 20 shilling access to a smartphone for 20 shillings, you know. And the pipe analogy, absolutely amazing. That was Joanne's analogy, absolutely amazing. And you cannot access beyond the level of your dreams. SK Blue, never waste a good crisis. And perfection is the enemy of entrepreneurship. You and your vision are enough. Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we just want to thank you so much. We want to give you praise and give you glory. In the book of Acts 19, verse 11, it says that God did extraordinary miracles through the hands of Paul. And the same scripture goes on to talk about the handkerchiefs of Paul and the aprons when Paul were healing. And I heard a great general of God, Dr. Ed Silvoso, say that the anointing has shifted to the airwaves. Father, Lord, in the name of Jesus Christ, everybody who's on the other side of this camera, Father, everyone who is listening to the sound of my voice, you know exactly what they need. You know exactly their next step. You know their exact next stage. Father, Lord, in the name of Jesus Christ, I'm praying for you to nudge them into their next, to nudge them to take that step, to nudge them to get up, to shake themselves up and to move in the name of Jesus. Whatever information they have received, whether it was this week or last month, Father, in the name of Jesus Christ, I decree resilience. I decree a strengthening. I decree the ability to bounce back. I decree that they're able to see. I'm always fascinated of the story of Hagar when she was crying and she thought it was the end of her and her child. But Father, in the name of Jesus Christ, you opened her eyes and she saw the well that was in front of her. I decree and declare right now, because of this unstucking conversation, Father, access for extraordinary impact. Open the eyes of every single person. Open the eyes to their vision. Open their eyes to what is possible. Help them to change their minds about themselves and about what is possible. And my prayer is that they would continue to, I feel like in my spirit, ring true, that the messages of today will continue to ring in their spirits and in their hearts and in their minds, and they will take actions toward it. We talked about you must take an action, you must take a step. Very different places in the Word of God. They had to step into whatever they wanted to part, Father. And I decree and declare that everybody will take a step towards their purpose, a step towards their vision, a step towards solutions for this continent and for Africa, a step towards knowing they're enough and there is no idea that is too small, a step towards a mentor, towards a coach, and towards asking for help. We give you all the praise, all the glory, and all the honor, and we are looking forward to hosting everybody and more people. Please tell your friends about it. Next Saturday, same time, 8:30 a.m. God bless you. Love you so much, and for sure you cannot have been fed so much and remain the same. Something has to change. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. God bless you. Bye-bye.
All right. As we get to the end of our session, I'd like to move a vote of thanks. First, we'd like to thank the Almighty God for allowing us to be here today, not just physically, but digitally as well. In years gone by, being able to meet like this would not have been possible during a pandemic. So this is truly an amazing time to be alive, and thank God for that. I'd like to thank our panelists for engaging with us and sharing their experiences so openly and authentically. I'm sure we can all appreciate that. And so thank you to Rosemary Momanyi. Indeed, Google is our friend. Thank you so much. Thank you, Kennedy. I've been to see the work in Kibera a few times, and it's amazing to see what you've done there for this generation. Thank you. Thank you for joining us. Thank you, Joram, not just for your time, but also for allowing us to broadcast from your amazing premises here at Sandbox. To Pastor Angie Murenga, our convener, thank you for hosting this event. We are because you are. And thank you, our audience, for trusting us with your time. I do hope this has been especially useful for you. We hope to see tweets and posts of nuggets that you have observed from today's session. Thank you once more, and I'm sure we will see you on the 8th of August for the second and final part of the Unstuck 2020 series. Remember to use the same link for today's session next week. As I continue to thank those that have helped us put this together, a big thank you to our vendors and service suppliers. We would not have executed this vision without you. John Kinuthia of Pipes with Purpose. I don't know if the audience can see this item I'm holding up here. This gentleman, John, has done some amazing work. He's got these amazing pieces that he's provided for us for this event. Uses pipes that would usually be used for building purposes, and he's repurposed those into beautiful pieces that we can use for lighting fixtures in homes, offices, as well as dispensers for events and so much more. And so, John, thank you so much for all these cool things. To Facebook for sponsoring our online boosting, Archer Digital for helping us on the digital side, Leroy Malu on graphic design, Ishmael on video, Starab for all the amazing furniture that we have here at the venue today. And one of my personal favorites, La Grenier Alpin, who's giving us the pastries that we can't share with some of you out there, but thank you, La Grenier. This event would also not have been possible with the individual sponsorships and the corporate sponsors that have so graciously given to this event. So thank you to Facebook, thank you to Apostle Angie, Daniel, Jemima, Joanne, Nina, Emily, Fenny, George and Winnie Thara, thank you. Dr. Maria Walker, thank you. Caroline Banacho, Evelyn Gatia, Lucy, the Kingdom Business Solutions, and Just Angie, thank you all so much. It is said that behind every successful man, there's certainly a woman. I've been privileged to lead a team of 8 amazing ladies as we put this together this year's event. And so a final thank you to this amazing, amazing team, Jemima, Joanne, Nina, Emily, Fenny, Dorcas, Jackie, and Evelyn. Thank you so much. So Asanteni, God bless you all, and I hope to see all of you on the 8th of August. God bless you.